Diabetes. There's three types of diabetes that you need to focus on. There's type 1, type 2, and type 3. Type 1 is an autoimmune disorder that you're usually diagnosed with at a younger age. Most of the time, people will know by the time they're in their teens. So you're usually given insulin as your treatment because type 1 diabetics cannot produce their own insulin. Type 2 diabetes is an acquired disease. You basically use up all your stored insulin and you've basically become resistant and you're running low on supply. And basically, you need to hoard your insulin and it makes it very hard to regulate your blood sugar. Diabetes is a race against time to see how it can affect all the organs and other parts of your body, involving circulatory, nervous system, as well as neurological. Um, there's a lot of issues when it comes to type 3 diabetes that are not well understood just yet, but there is a direct correlation between diabetes and Alzheimer's. And type 1 and type 2 and type 3 can be viewed as an autoimmune disorder. Most people who have either one of those three usually has an insulin issue. I want you to think about diabetes as an insulin problem, not necessarily a blood sugar problem. If we're going to focus on lifestyle, we need to focus on the idea that type 2 diabetes and possibly type 3 diabetes can be preventable and in some cases reversed. The problem is you have to make sure that you're addressing the issue in a holistic manner where you're addressing it from all angles. First and foremost, your diet should be on point. It should be a heavy plant-based diet with lots of raw veggies and fruits with a little bit of lean meat sprinkled in as a condiment. Sugar should be avoided at all costs, and that includes carbohydrates that are in the form of simple sugars, and that's pasta and bread. I don't care whoever's told you that whole wheat bread is okay for you, it's still considered sugar. The next thing that should be regulated is your metabolism, and that means you get some good exercise, you try to figure out how to go to the bathroom more often than not, and then your digestive tract is working properly. A good approach to diabetes is also making sure that you do a liver detox because a liver detox will help emphasize liver health, and a healthy liver regulates hormones even better. A healthy liver regulates thyroid hormone, it regulates insulin, it will produce good cholesterol, it will produce glucose and store glucose, so it is an important thing for the liver to be healthy. You also want to make sure that you are eating right at the right time and you are also sleeping at the right time. Cortisol and insulin need to be addressed because they both go hand in hand. If insulin's elevated, you need to make sure that cortisol is not elevated, but this is a typical day in the life of a diabetic. If insulin is increased, then you have cortisol that's increased, vice versa. You also have another hormone called leptin that's increased. Leptin is a hormone that tells you that you're full. When leptin is elevated, cortisol is elevated, insulin's elevated. There's another hormone called ghrelin that's usually low. Thyroid could be suppressed, and your adrenals might also become compromised as well. When it comes to hormones, I want you to think about insulin as a hormone because it is. So if your hormones are not imbalanced, and they have issues as far as regulating your metabolism, you will always have inflammation, you have a hard time to lose weight, and at the same time, you have a hard time regulating your insulin and your blood glucose. Some diabetic tests that you want to look at would be hemoglobin A1C that measures your blood sugar over 3 months. You would look at your fasting glucose that basically looks at your blood sugar over the past 24 hours. And then you have your glycated serum protein, otherwise known as AGE products, that will check your blood sugar over 3 weeks. Between those three, those are good measurements of blood sugar. You also want to measure your insulin resistance. It can be known as the form of HOMA-IR. Adiponectin is a great way to measure a hormone that protects you against diabetes. Adiponectin usually comes from adipocytes. Your insulin resistance is a big important factor in diabetes because you want to make sure that you're insulin sensitive. Diabetics are insulin resistant. A couple other things that you could look for in the labs would be your insulin and your C-peptide. Your C-peptide is showing you how hard your pancreas is working to kick out insulin. And of course, your insulin, if it's elevated, you have a metabolism problem. So these are a couple good things to try. Some of the treatment that you'd want to look at for with diabetes could be regulating insulin better, liver detox, possibly even adrenal and metabolism support as well. And some of the vitamins that really are helpful when it comes to helping control blood sugar and even helping with insulin response could be biotin, chromium, fenugreek. There could be taurine involved. Even arginine has some good research as well.